Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Okay, if you're an English speaker learning Portuguese, I guarantee you've been here. You're mid-sentence and you just freeze, completely panicking about which question word to use. Well, today we are finally untangling the notorious confusion between OK and qual. By the end of this, you're going to have a crystal clear framework so you literally never have to second-guess yourself again. Let's get right into it.
So, how exactly do you translate the word what? I mean, it seems like such an innocent question, doesn't it? But man, this is exactly where we fall headfirst into the translation trap. See, in English, we rely heavily on this single, hard-working little word, what, for almost everything. What are you doing? What's your name? What is the capital of Brazil? But Portuguese? Yeah, it doesn't let you get away with that one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, it forces you to choose your words based entirely on the underlying context of what you're actually asking. You can't just translate the word itself. You really have to translate the intention.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, Mastering OK. This is the top of our broad to specific funnel. All right, so here's our foundational rule. OK is used for general inquiries, definitions, or explanations. Now, I want you to really focus on those three concepts: general, definitions, explanations. When you use OK, it's kind of like you're casting this massive, wide net out into the ocean of conversation. You're not giving the other person a neat little list of options to choose from. Instead, you're asking them to fill in a completely blank canvas. It's incredibly expansive, and it's totally open-ended. Let's take a look at our first example. O que você está fazendo agora? Think about what that actually means for a second. It translates to, what are you doing right now? Notice how perfectly this captures that whole blank canvas idea. I mean, the person answering this could tell you they're reading a book, flying an airplane, cooking dinner, or just staring at the ceiling. The possibilities are quite literally infinite. It's the ultimate general inquiry. Or, let's say you ask, ¿O qué significa esta palabra? Which means, what does this word mean? Here, you're asking for an explanation totally from scratch. You aren't saying, hey, does this word mean X or does it mean Y? No, you are leaving the floor entirely open for them to define it for you. Basically, whenever you are asking for the meaning of something, OK is absolutely your go-to tool.
Now consider this scenario. O que há de novo no trabalho? What's new at work? Think about the kind of answer a question like this demands. It requires a narrative, right? It could be a simple, nothing much. Or it could be a 10-minute rant about office politics and the broken coffee machine. Because the scope of the inquiry is just so wide and requires a broad, narrative explanation, o que há is really the only logical choice here.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Part 2, Pinpointing with Qual. We are narrowing our focus now. So qual is used to ask about specific choices or options. Mentally highlight those words for me. Specific choices and options. If OK is our blank canvas, think of qual as a multiple choice test. Even if the list of potential options is huge, like, I don't know, all the cars in the world or all the days of the year, you are still asking the listener to pluck one specific item out from a defined set. You are pinpointing. For example, take a look at this one. Qual é o seu número de telefone? What is your phone number? Now, in English, we just use what. But applying our Portuguese logic, are you asking for the philosophical definition of a phone number? Of course not. You're asking them to select their exact, specific sequence of digits out of all the assigned phone numbers in existence. It is a specific selection out of a multitude of possibilities, so you absolutely must use qual. Here's another incredibly common scenario. Qual time você torce? Which team do you support? Now, this one actually makes a bit more intuitive sense to us English speakers because we sometimes use which in this context anyway. But the underlying rule is identical. The universe of sports teams is a defined group. So when you ask this question, you're inherently demanding that the listener pick a specific option from that defined group. You're pinpointing their loyalty. So qual is the undisputed champion here.
And that brings us to our final example for this section. Qual é o seu prato preferido? What's your favorite dish? Listen, asking someone for their favorite anything is the ultimate act of pinpointing. Out of all the meals they've ever eaten, out of every recipe that exists in the world, you're asking them to narrow it all down and highlight one specific choice. When you're forcing a selection like that, qual is definitely the tool you need to pull from your Portuguese toolbox.
All right, get ready because this brings us to part 3, the golden rule. This is the ultimate aha moment of the explainer, the absolute crucial takeaway that ties everything together. So, the crucial point is this. Think of OK as broad and qual as specific. It really is beautifully simple. From now on, when you're about to ask a question in Portuguese, just pause for a microsecond. Ask yourself, am I asking for a general explanation or definition? If the answer is yes, go broad with okay. Or, am I asking someone to identify a specific choice or option from a set? If yes, get specific with Qual. This simple little comparison completely solves the translation dilemma once and for all.
Which brings us to Part 4, your Portuguese journey. Honestly, you should be super proud of the clarity you've just gained here. Knowing this structural difference is exactly what separates sounding like a textbook from sounding natural.
Look, building fluency is a journey of 1,000 small steps, and understanding the nuances of these question words, that's a massive leap forward. Keep engaging with the language, keep analyzing the structure, and just keep returning to these foundational building blocks to learn Portuguese with us.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Which specific choice, or broad concept, will you ask about first using your new Portuguese skills? I seriously challenge you to go out there and immediately apply this framework in the real world. Strike up a conversation, write down a journal entry, or, just practice out loud to yourself. Use OK to explore the broad mysteries of the world, and use Qual to pinpoint the exact details. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep up the fantastic work and happy learning.